Mrs. Chairwoman Alexandra Tinoco, Mr. General Director of IRENA, Francesco La Camera, Excellencies, Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First of all, I would like to address my sincere congratulations to all members of the International Renewable Energy Agency for holding this 12th session of IRENA's General Assembly. I would also like to thank Mr. Francesco La Camera for his leadership and his efforts to strengthen IRENA's missions and role in the benefit of sustainable development. I would like to reassure you of the continuous support of the Kingdom of Morocco to your activities, be it policy support, capacity building, or technology transfer. Ladies and gentlemen, we are living in turbulent times when resilience and flexibility are bearing tremendous value. But that value will need to be monetized. It's not always monetized. A just transition refers to the principle of equity, a basis of the Paris Climate Agreement emulated during COP22 in Marrakesh and then at COP26 in Glasgow. Equity requires transition efforts to be differentiated according to the historic responsibilities, capacity to action, and vulnerabilities. The UNFCCC highlights that developing countries, particularly in Africa, have made the least historical contribution to greenhouse gas capital, while suffering the most from accelerating impacts of climate change. A just transition is therefore guided by the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and capacities with regard to climate finance, technology transfer, and capacity building. The experience of Morocco in defining its new development model led us to redefine the valuation of natural capital, including land, for ambitious renewable projects, and that's for the well-being of the population and the environment. The experience of Morocco in defining its new development model led us also to put a value on sustainable development, a value on our natural capital, and a value on the environment. Ladies and gentlemen, despite our low responsibility in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, we have revised upwards our ambition in our nationally determined contribution. We aim at reducing our greenhouse gas emissions by 45% by 2030, and that's part of our integrated strategy for low carbon development by 2050. Our commitment to energy transition is first and foremost a voluntarist political choice made by His Majesty the King Mohammed VI, may God assist him. So our energy policy is based on 3 pillars. Number 1, we want increasingly ambitious renewable energy and efficiency targets. Number 2, we want a consistent regional integration and energy diplomacy stance. And number 3, we want a transparent valuation process for the preservation of our environment and our natural capital. So today we have 50 renewable energy projects in operation in the country by more than 40 companies from 13 different countries. And we have more than 60 renewable projects under development. The cost of clean technologies like solar and wind in Morocco are competitive compared to conventional technologies and also compared to countries with similar potential. So even for CSP, at 15 cents per kilowatt hours in 2014, Morocco registered the price by far lower than the world's average of 24 cents per kilowatt hour. But then ambitious renewable targets generate challenges for the national electricity system and require the mobilization of flexibility means for storage, pump-in storage solutions, network reinforcement, smart grids, and also natural gas. Morocco was one of the first countries in the Mediterranean region to introduce pump-in storage with the Afourar station in the Atlas Mountains. That's a capacity of 460 megawatts. We have 2 other pump-in storage stations that are scheduled by 2030 with a total capacity of 600 megawatts. Our CSP projects in Ouarzazate use molten salt storage technology with a period ranging from 3 to 7 hours. And finally, increasing regional connectivity, be it electricity or gas, and getting beyond geopolitical tensions is another crucial form of flexibility to enable the development of renewable energy. and a crucial form of North-South cooperation. As far as South-South cooperation is concerned, I will mention, for example, the Alliance for Access to Sustainable Energy Initiative co-created by Morocco and Ethiopia during the United Nations Climate Action Summit in New York in 2019. And that represents a real opportunity to generalize access to sustainable energy in Africa. So, ladies and gentlemen, a just and inclusive energy transition will not be actionable without putting a value on our natural capital and on the environment. The most available incentive today, given the size of the potential carbon market, is carbon pricing. For emerging economies like Morocco, determined to exceed our 52% of installed capacity based on competitive renewables, carbon pricing cannot just be a metric that one can tweak in a net zero roadmap model, even more so in an inflationary post-COVID recovery environment. The minute carbon pricing is used in an NDC discussion, it loses credibility primarily because of the asymmetric historic responsibility towards climate change that I mentioned earlier. So for carbon pricing to become a credible policy tool, allowing industry players to internalize the costs of the transition, it has to be just, it has to be inclusive, it has to be robust, and it has to be adapted. It cannot do all the economic work, but it can enable a level playing field competition. It can prevent idle infrastructure and value destruction, and it can send a clear policy signal to investors. So I'd like to call on the role of IRENA for further support to accelerate the progress of our energy transition by first helping us put a value on sustainable development and also support a coalition of what we call the middle intensity trap. Mrs. Chairwoman, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, the Kingdom of Morocco wishes to express its gratitude to the International Renewable Energy Agency for its support, the support it grants to its member states to carry out the programs related to the development of renewable energies and the financing of renewable energies. The strategic agreement that we signed with IRENA is a good example of this successful partnership. It aims to develop technological studies, to forecast market supplies, and to formulate models for public and private partnerships in the field of new and clean energies. I would like to thank you for your kind attention. Goodbye.